Hey there. Welcome to the Listening Vault inside Kael, where we unlock those hidden spaces in our minds. You know, the ones between what we feel and what we do. I'm Koushik Gaja, your host, and yeah, the guy behind books like Pause, What Happens Between Impulse and Action, and its fiction companion, The World Just Is a Beat Too Late. Think of this podcast as your quiet corner to explore, reflect, and maybe even pause for a bit. We'll be diving into the stuff that makes us tick, emotions sneaking up on us, habits that loop without permission, and that whole unconscious world shaping our moves before we even notice. It's not about me lecturing you. No, it's more like a conversation. I'll share bits from my books, toss in some personal stories, and ask questions that might make you go, huh, I felt that too. Drawing from psychology, neuroscience, and just plain old life experiences, we'll unpack it all gently. No rush, no judgments, just noticing. If you've ever caught yourself reacting super fast and then wondering, wait, why did I do that? Or noticed patterns popping up even when you're trying to change, this vault's for you. Each episode will crack open a chapter or theme with reflections and maybe even some listener stories down the line. Sound good? Let's ease into it with a taste of what Pause is all about, straight from the book's About This Book section, but let's chat through it like friends. So, have you ever noticed how quickly you react before you've had time to think? Like, bam, words out, decision made, and only later you're like, hold on, was that me? Why certain patterns repeat, even when you know better? I've been there, swearing off a habit, only for it to sneak back in. Why some decisions feel deliberate while others feel automatic? Why effort doesn't always lead to change, and insight doesn't always lead to control? It's frustrating, but fascinating. At what point does a thought become an action? Where does an impulse actually come from? And if so much of our behavior seems to arrive before we are aware of it, what does it really mean to choose? Pause does not tell you what to believe. It begins with a quieter inquiry. What unfolds between impulse and action? Drawing from psychology, neuroscience, and lived experience, this book explores how emotion, habit, memory, and unconscious preparation shape behavior long before intention appears, and why awareness often arrives after a direction is already forming. This book does not argue against agency. It examines where participation becomes possible and how presence can alter what would otherwise move unchecked. You know, like noticing the pull before it yanks you along. Think about that for a second. And since we're talking companions, let's touch on The World Just Is a Beat Too Late. This one's the story side of things, poetic, sensory, all about living in that gap. Here's how it sets up in the About This Book section. In a world that rushes forward without pause, Kyle experiences life a beat too late. The World Just is a poetic novella that traces the quiet inner journey of a boy timed differently. Through raw, sensory prose, we inhabit the gap between impulse and action, the jolts of sound, flashes of light, and the weight of unspoken expectations. Kyle survives by building an automatic shell of mimicry and habit, hiding the agonizing delay in processing the world around him. But amid the clanging routines of daily life, sparks of agency emerge, small miracles in dust motes, indigo drawings, and missed moments that finally arrive. This is not a story of breaking or fixing, but of awakening, a meditation on presence, masking, and reclaiming the soul from the machine. For the observers, the quiet ones, and anyone who has ever felt the world arrive in impacts rather than a smooth stream, what happens in the space between what we feel and what we do? See what I mean? It's all connected. That's the essence, a sneak peek into the vault, blending the inquiry from pause with Kyle's lived out version in the novella. In coming episodes, we'll unpack chapters like Before Intention, chatting about brain science like Libet's experiments on how actions prep before we're conscious of them, maybe share a story from my own beat too late moments. If this clicks, head over to Amazon or InsideKael.framer.website for Pause and The World Just Is. They're companions. One inquires, the other stories it out through Kael. Follow at InsideKael on Instagram for updates or drop your thoughts there. Could fuel an episode. Thanks for listening in. Until next time, unlock that vault and take a breath.